Going to meet some new people. We have our friends. We're live streaming today. Tom's got us live streaming. I was away last week. Me and my lovely wife traveled to the beach, Tom, and
Nice.
we went to the beach for one day. We there. I live in Pennsylvania. We drove to the East Coast, and it was 30 degrees colder. It was raining. They were having gale force winds. We went out of the hotel. Umbrellas almost blew over. So we went out of the hotel again. I had to hide in the little stores to get warm. I went in a UGG collar store. My wife's like, "What are we doing in here?" And I said, "Well, I'm just trying to get warm." So uh, that is where I was last week. So I appreciate you taking you navigating, you figuring it all out. Anything that I'm planning that you stepped up. But we're going to talk inspiration. We are going to talk inspiration, Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, social media. Jess is here. Our friend Charlie just launched a book. Hey, my friend Dr. Noopy's down there. I told Dr. Noopy that's who me and Tom were just having a conversation about tech at this world. Tom went out and gave a speech this week, over the weekend, and we were talking about getting back out into the world. But Tom also said there's an efficiency of being able to do things through Zoom, do things through Clubhouse, stuff like that. Where I was able to have a conversation with Dr. Noopy yesterday in Manchester United. And I don't think I would have been able to have a conversation with her yesterday and then drive and take my daughter to lacrosse in Pittsburgh if there wasn't technology. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on efficiency versus being out in the world? How do you manage both?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think, look, it's funny because there's this like pendulum swing that you see or that you hear with technology and with Zoom and with virtual events and with in-person events. And it's this sort of thing where like, in-person went away, obviously, because of COVID and the pandemic. And then all of a sudden, or then, after a couple of years of like everything being virtual, now you've got tons of people who are now saying, "Oh, I hate Zoom. I'm so over Zoom. I'm zoomed out," right? Like I hear people say that all the time. I'm zoomed out. And which I just think is like, honestly, kind of I was going to say between you and me, but obviously not between you and me. This is a very public forum. But yeah, like I just think that's kind of a silly thing to say. Like if you're zoomed out, you're frustrated with it. So like the solution is not to just stop doing it. It's to figure out what's frustrating you about it and then fix the problem, right?
Oh, I want to ask you about this zoomed out. Do you
Yeah.
think being zoomed out would be like somebody saying in 1970, "I'm tired of the telephone"? Is this a technology that is just here forever?
I mean, I think virtual meetings are here forever. This is the style of video conferencing, face to face sort of virtual meetings is not going away. And the people that think it's going to go quote unquote back to normal are completely deluding themselves, right? They're demonstrating a very strong will to resist reality and to resist change, right? And you know how I feel about resisting change, right? It's a futile endeavor, it's a fool's errand, and all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure and disappointment, right? Change happens. Every time you look at your watch or you look at your phone to see what time it is, guess what you're doing? You're checking a measurement of change, right? Change happens. You cannot stop it. You cannot avoid it. It is completely futile. So yeah. So the people that think it's sticking or it's going back to quote unquote normal, right? Like that everything's going to go back to in person are completely fooling themselves. I think both have their place, right? There is value to meeting in person. Like you said, last weekend, I spoke in front of a room of about 80 to 100 people, right? In person. It was a great event. I was invited to be a part of this event with the Accountability Forum with Dominick's and I's mutual friend, Chris, and his friend, Sean. It was their sort of brainchild, and I was invited to be a part of it along with a few other speakers. And it was great. It was a great experience. But, like we were talking about, like you said earlier, Dom, we were talking before we opened up the Clubhouse room, we were chatting about, the fact that I said, look, I could go speak to virtually present in front of a group of people in England, right, in the UK, and then an hour later I could be in a meeting with Dom, and then an hour after that I could be in a meeting with, somebody else in my local area, right? And there's no way to do that without technology like Zoom, right? So there is a place for both. When it makes sense, when it's cost effective and more efficient to use technology, you use technology, right? When the expenditure makes sense, when the cost makes sense, when the spend makes sense, because the value you're getting from being in person outweighs the additional cost, then you do something in person, right? Or not even just the monetary value, but the overall value, right, of doing something in person. Then you do it in person. But yeah, I mean, if people think that this technology is going away, I got a news flash for you. It ain't going anywhere. And like the foreshadowing for this goes back to the 90s, right? And the late 80s when we were in movies, there were phones on desks with like video screens on them, right? And there were video phones. Do you remember video phones when they came out, right? In like that was like the early 90s, I think, right? So like we've been moving in this direction for like 30 years. This is not new. It just people haven't been paying attention.
Tom, you nailed it, my friend. Okay, so in this room, so I see. Okay, we got some of our favorites here already. Pied Piper, Michael, Charlie, Jess is around. Prof T, my buddy Harry Spate. That's Mister Selling with Dignity. We're gonna meet all these people. We're gonna ask them how they're managing. And Doctor Noopy. We're gonna meet all these our new friends and see how they're managing things. So Jess, how are you figuring out in person versus cyber? Can you manage both? Are you doing both? Do you have any tips in that lane? We'll start there and we'll see where this ride takes us, Tom. How's that sound?
That sounds good to me, man. That sounds good. It's good to have you back in the MC spot. We definitely missed you last week. I am not the MC that you are. I can't keep things moving. I luckily had some support from some of our favorites, who are in the room with us today, helping me out and bringing people up on stage and all that good stuff. So shout out to Julie, who was a huge help last week. Harry popped in; he was hugely helpful. And our friend Brian, who's not in here yet, but I'm sure he'll pop in at some point. He was great to have in the room too. But I'm glad to have you back, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. And so just on that, what we try to do here, and I'll just go over what goes on in the room here. We try to have an open conversation. We never know where it's going to go. Whether, like I had written down today, I wanted to talk about follow through. I wanted to talk about how we measure things, intrinsic versus measured benchmarks, things like that. And now we're talking about online versus in person. So anybody come up on stage, it's an open platform, ask a question, share a tip, ask somebody else, because you have a ton of experts here. So just know this is your room. If you got something to say, flash the mic, raise your hand, join the club. Michael Lozier, he told me he was a big proponent of us starting the club. So we have done that. So Jess, what's up? You heard the subject. Do your thing.
I did. I'm glad to have you back. Thank you. I honestly, I have to agree 100% with Tom. Like Zoom is just, or virtual Zoom, Google Meets, whatever it is that you use, your platform of choice is not going anywhere. But I think that the fact is also the in-person juncture is definitely something that is, I think, not only professionally needed, but I also think just psychologically and personally needed as well. Within parameters for how a person feels, of course. And I think that both really can help you with your mindset, with personal growth, with professional growth, because just as Tom alluded, you can be on a virtual be global, and then you're right here, locally, and you're doing your thing. So I just think it's a good balance, finding the good balance, but it all making sense, it all being strategic, um, and it just aligned with your mission. That's just my 2 cents. But I'm glad to have you back, and I always love watching y'all on LinkedIn. So I see the both.
Well, see, okay, thank you. Glad to be back here. If you're watching on LinkedIn, I'm going to stand up. I don't think I've ever stood up, Tom. Today, I wear my shirt. It is Pittsburgh versus everybody. I think I bought this shirt I bought one at the grocery store one time for $5. I liked it so much when I was in pharmaceuticals about 8 years ago. I was with my boss, Ratty, one day, and the first version of the shirt had gone, and we were calling on pharmacies at the time. So I went and picked up. I left my boss, went to the store and bought this $5 shirt, Pittsburgh versus everybody. That's what I got on today. Jess, you are launching a podcast. I watched her trailer the other day, Tom. So in part of it, I see dancing, and part it's so just Jess, just hit us up. A lot of people in this room may want to start a podcast, and you're about to do that. So do you have any tips for anybody that may want to start a podcast?
Oh, wow. I'm gonna to so for that specific question, I'm gonna probably yield it to the Pied Piper, but for me, I'll answer the question as to plan D and the reason why. Because I've had a podcast for a while. I'm launching that because I just it's passion over profit for me, and this has been my passion project. This has been something that's really near and dear to my heart, so it's bigger than me, and it's just fusing mental health and just the power of music. And
Can I interrupt you for a second, Jessica?
here we go. Yes, ma'am.
Because I think the boys need to hear this, or the boys, Dom and Tom. She did an episode last Friday with Barbara Corcoran. She was invited to Barbara Corcoran from the Shark Tanks podcast. So this girl's on fire. So I just wanted to throw that up there. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Bye.
I knew she was. I love you to death. Yes, I was. So I want to also say, thank you to this club. I want to say thank you to Michael. When you surround yourself around really good people, positive energy, then that's all you're going to attract, because that's all you're going to welcome in. And I did. That was I've done many interviews, but that was by far the biggest personal and professional investment I had in my life, and it had no monetary value. So yes, I did, and I was honored and I was humbled that she picked me amongst thousands of people, and it will launch, sometime this summer. But just, the biggest thing, like I said, is this: we're all in business, and we understand that in business you have to make money to sustain, because it's the bottom line. But I firmly believe that passion over profit is huge, because the money comes with your passion.
This is fantastic. Congratulations. So you meet a lot of interesting people that are doing some super things you would never expect, hanging with business moguls, talking to Shark Tankers, making a difference. So Jess, continue that journey, and congratulations. It's just super cool. And one of the things that on that hashtag front, I worked with a guy who was a master of algorithms. He's one of my first business partners. And he would drill down on those hashtags forever. He would use that hashtag Shark Tank or Barbara Corcoran forever. And he would really, so when you're building in the future, you own that now. So good luck to you. Hey, we got a lot of people with new stuff going on, Tom. So this is how the room changes. Charlie just launched a book yesterday. So Charlie, you drop a book, just comes out of nowhere, drops a book. You've been telling the story. Yesterday's launch day. I bought a book this week. So Charlie, tell us what you got going on for somebody that wants to write a book. what kind of tip would you give them, and where are you at in your journey, my friend?
Hello, Dominick. Hello, everybody. As a grown up, I can't pretend anymore. And I finally got to the point that, the analysis by paralysis, and what I'm saying it backwards, I finally said, I've got to tell my story. I got to free myself. I got to help others. And am I coming across, because I'm getting like no noise in the background?
You sound like a pro, man. And see what
Okay.
happens. He
Yeah.
practices. He launches a book. Now he's a pro. There's no weights banging in the background. There's no traffic or whistles. Go on.
Okay. Okay. So I launched this book, and there's always going to be a little bit of levity. I want to circle back to Tom for a second. Uh, Zoom is not going away, but this is like the third time I heard this in person. I go down to Florida. I do a pretty big podcast. I'm pretty proud that I'm on this show 2 times, and I meet another podcaster, and I'm hearing the same thing. Charlie, you look really good in person. And I kind of like, wow, what does that mean? So I'm going to need some professional help. I'm not photographing well. I guess I'm not looking good on Zoom, because Dominick, I think you said that to me when I went out to
Yeah,
meet at Penn State, and I heard
Charlie's jacked, and he said, I mean, this dude is ripped, man. We had lunch. His muscles were popping. His hair was perfect. Same thing with me. I want to let you guys know I'm not ripped at all. I'm tan as can be. I got the best tan in the publishing business. My lights wash me out. Tom, I look across at Tom here. Tom looks perfect. It is so agitating to me. I mean, I love the guy. I want him to do good, but I mean, his background perfect, the color, he looks great, and I'm all washed out. I hear you, Charlie. Continue.
okay, so I get through that, and I think yesterday was probably the greatest day of my life, and I've been through some good stuff. It's one of the things is that I've been able to finally tell a personal story and put it out there. And on top of putting the personal story out there, I mean, I'm vulnerable. I talk about my food addiction. I talk about arresting it in 2019. I talk about everything that I need to put out there into the universe so that others can get fuel off of that. I've made the money. I'm not interested in anybody telling me, Charlie, you can get another run. That's not what I'm here for. I got enough Gucci blazers and enough shoes to make any rapper jealous. What I want to do is really help people. I really want to help people. And the last thing I want to say here, and this is what's happened. I put enough stuff out into the universe. A producer produced a song about my journey with Star the dog, and it's playing in the UK. And a UK announcer not only pronounced my name perfectly, which was really nice because my neighbors can't do it correctly here on the East Coast, but he said, Charlie and Star set upon the world to bring peace. And then it's playing in Arizona on FM stations and the same type of stuff. So I'm seeing you put enough good stuff into this universe, and I really hope that I can help people with my book of 14th and 2nd. I had to get all the good stuff in this life. I thought the Bentleys and the Ferraris and all that stuff would help me. It really made me more miserable. And that completes me, and I'm going to land my plane. I'm feeling good.
Powerful stuff, Charlie. That guy's on point, and I will even say Charlie will admit it, man. When Charlie came on Clubhouse a couple months ago, we believe that Clubhouse is a great place to practice sharing your story. It's a great place to meet new people. And Charlie, man, Charlie, I'm going to say it. You went from not always being able to land the plane to I'm almost sitting here in tears hearing this story thinking I want more. So 14th and 2nd, pick it up. Good job, Charlie. Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. Tom, as we go through here, our moderator, our Pied Piper on my list, it is Julie. I connect people with Julie. I have this new plan and this business model. I just connect people with Julie. They like her, and then somehow good things come back to me. So, Julie, what do you got going on for us?
Hello, hello. Well, first of all, this is a very appropriate conversation because I am going to get to meet, let's see, 2 people here on the stage in person. Next week, I'm going to get to meet Jess and Harry next week in Orlando. So that's super exciting for me at Podfest Expo. I guess the idea of going to in person. I think we all have to be prepared for everything because we never know what's going to happen around the corner, meaning there could be another outbreak, knock on wood, hopefully not. But we have to be prepared and always have the backup for hybrid. However, I am making an attempt, and this is kind of my goal, I guess, for the rest of the year, is to start connecting with people in person, because there's nothing more powerful than being in the same space as somebody and being able to see their body language, see the eye contact, and make connections again. I was able to do that over Zoom, and yes, there is such thing as a Zoom fatigue, because I feel that very regularly. But quite honestly, having that interaction with people, I'm just so excited. I got to be honest, I'm a little apprehensive, a little nervous, a little anxiety, because I haven't done it in so long, being in a huge crowd, being around a lot of people. So it will be interesting to see everybody's kind of where they're at mentally, just, having all these people and connections. I think everyone will be excited. And I happen to know there's nothing more powerful than a handshake, a hug, contact, and having a conversation in real person. So that would be my thoughts. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Julie. We appreciate Julie. We're Team Julie. I was on with MediaCasters the other day. Boy, they grilled me, made me bare my
Oh,
soul.
gosh. How did I forget about that amazing episode with Dom? Yeah.
They grilled me, made me bare my soul. We talked about the Queen's Gambit. I mean, I can always get into a conversation about that. Tom, what do you think about all this?
Well, I was just gonna say, is that something I need to be prepared for? Because I'm supposed to sit down with Julie and Corinne on Friday, this Friday.
Yeah, just be prepared for like a lot of sweat and tears and laughter and just confusion.
I mean, I already have a bunch of lights pointing at me, so like I kind of feel like I'm under the interrogation light all the time on Zoom anyway, because I literally have 7 lights set up in my office that I turned into a studio. So I kind of always feel like I'm under interrogation to some degree, but apparently I'm gonna get the 3rd degree on Friday.
Yeah, it's gonna be scary, but it's gonna be worth it for you.
I'm
up to it. I'm up to it.
They're feisty on Fridays, so you could tell they were wound up. Okay, Clubhouse publishing, podcasting. All right, we're going to meet our friend.
And everybody share. Let's everybody share.
Thank you, Julie. Everybody share. Join the club. You guys convinced me and Tom a couple weeks ago. We didn't have a club. Some days we forgot to set up the room right. We didn't know what we were doing. And our friend Michael Lozier and Julie were very. They believed in this room, and they believed in the idea of a club. So, Michael Lozier, if you want to discuss any of the subjects, when Michael comes on, one day I said, when Michael comes on, you sit up straight. So I'm going to do that. But Michael said, you're the only guy that says that. But Michael, you get to talk about whatever the heck you want to talk about. So go on, my friend.
Hey, good morning, Dominick and Tom. Hey, a little shout out to Julie. Yesterday was my 1-year anniversary on Clubhouse, or birthday, I guess it's called. And she insisted that I join. And I was so shy when I joined Clubhouse, I wouldn't go in a room if she wasn't in it. I was like a puppy. Oh, Julie's in there. And now I host 2 weekly, really popular, very interactive shows. My name's Michael Lozier. I live in beautiful Victoria, BC. It's on an island on the west coast of Canada, very close to Seattle, if you know where that is. And I'm the author of these 3 books. I've traveled the world many times in 17 countries doing in-person trainings. And I'm here because I'm a pro Zoomer. I've been doing Zoom trainings and all through COVID. At first, as a trainer, doing training on Zoom is far more effective, not because it's on Zoom, it's because of the trainer. When I do my Zoom courses, there's not one slide, yet everybody can recite and remember everything that I taught them in 1 hour because I'm using accelerated learning techniques. So if you're going to use Zoom, learn how to teach students using these techniques, and then everybody will want to come to your event or your training. And you'll also have trained them to bring a pen and paper to your meetings, if not the worksheet that you provide. So I'm a pro Zoomer. I already decided probably not travel again around the world. This is it. I'm going to stay on the island. Now, however, I wouldn't say no to a nice fat package. If I was going to go internationally, I would stay there for a couple of weeks as part of living a best life or something. So make my point. Zoom is really good and helpful for training if you're using techniques that engage the students. So pro Zoomer here, and just a shout out to anybody that's on LinkedIn as well. Maybe go pop on LinkedIn, look for Tom's profile. It'll show that he's live, and just share that on your timeline. And the more people we have joining us here, the more rich the conversation is and the more tips everybody's going to get. So shout out to Jess and Professor T and Harry and Charlie. We are here. It's our Wednesday morning habit. I'm here at 6:30 on the West Coast. So that means this is good and important to me. Thanks, guys, for inviting me on stage.
Hey, Michael, we appreciate you, man. We appreciate your input. So, with a Zoom expert on, Tom, I think we have to get a tip. Michael, if you'd like, one, what's the and I guarantee if he gives the tip, it's probably something I am doing wrong right now. And so, Michael, what tip, if you had like one to throw out that just you need to make sure you do this, what would you say?
Okay, great. So this is very common to do this. I've already set it up for people to have a pen and paper, and I would say this. Okay, I want you to pre-number 1 to 10, and then underneath it, pre-number 1 to 10. And while they're doing it, I'm doing it. Why? Because I need to know how long it takes. So I'm going 1. So when I'm on number 10, they're done. Because some trainers, they go to the next point and people are only on number 2. So point number 1, get them to build a list from 1 to 10. And that tells them what to expect. And it'll keep them paying attention. It's like, is this guy going to go on? When's this going to end? He said, no, he's going to give us 10 points. And guess what? Nobody will leave one blank. Hey, can you go back to point number 3 again? If you didn't have the worksheet, they could be a little confused about where are we at, what are we talking about? But they have a list of 1 to 10, and almost everybody is going to make sure everything's filled in, even if they're resistant to do it. That's my tip: how to engage your audience, how to make sure they pay attention, and how to set the tone that you're looking for participation as well. I'm going to give you a second tip because you didn't ask, and it's my favorite.
Bring it on, man. What do you got? Come on.
Okay, thanks. So there might be a lot of people like in today's room, right? And I might say, I'd like to hear from 2 people. Who'd like to go first? So here's what I did. Out of everybody in the room, the scaredy people, which is legit, they're off the hook. They always not meaning me. And then there's the eager ones that are thinking, oh, he's looking for 2 people. That's me. He only wants 2 people. I better go fast. So I'd like to hear from 2 people. And this is the important question. Who'd like to go first? So that's called a presupposition. And a presupposition presupposes somebody does, and you're talking just to them. Why? Because you use the word you. Who would like to go first in that entire sentence? So build a list and tell people how many people you're looking for, and the eager people will raise their hand and join. And then you set the tone. Fast, fast, fast. Hey, thanks for letting me share my 2 favorite Zoom tips here on Zoom Tips.
Zoom Tips by Michael Lozier. Hey, and follow his rooms. Check out his content. I'm always watching his stuff on LinkedIn. I'm connected, and so many people I hear the work that he does. They are impacted by it. So good job, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep making a difference. Okay, we are going to go. So this is the room, Clubhouse, publishing, podcast, social media. We talk about all these things every Wednesday. People, they're just starting something. They've sold 1 million books. They're monetizing their podcast. They're thinking of starting a podcast. So all the tips, all the questions, you have a panel here that will give you the answers, give you the feedback. So we're going to meet Prof T. I think Prof T changed her picture. Prof T, what's going on? Life is happening. I like this statement here. I just want to read this here. My friend Chris Worth says this a lot too. Life is happening for you, not to you. So, Prof T, any tips for us? Any questions? Go on.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. This is Teresa Augustinelli, otherwise known as Prof T from Philly. So happy to be here. One of my favorite rooms and on the stage, some of my favorite people in Clubhouse, hands down. Michael, Jess, Julie, Charlie, Dominick, Tom, thank you for having me on this stage. So, you know, as someone who made a living on office visits and face-to-face networking opportunities, and at one time holding down 3 offices for coaching and counseling, because I'm in the field of mental health and wellness. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist in Pennsylvania. Um, I was really stunned when the pandemic hit and everything just stopped. So I was no longer traveling. I was no longer doing any kind of networking face to face. People weren't coming into the office. I had to learn Zoom, and I was forced to learn something that I didn't want to learn because I'm not good at sitting in front of a computer. Now, with that said, I did learn to navigate, and it's a double-edged sword because, say, for instance, somebody in Pittsburgh, which is Pennsylvania, needs mental health counseling. I don't have to drive to Pittsburgh. They don't have to drive to me. I can do it right on the computer. However, I ended up closing. Unfortunately, I was down to one office, and I closed that this past November. Didn't see the need for brick and mortar because everything was click and order. So I started doing my own little podcast on Facebook Lives. I was doing that. I was seeing clients, doing some coaching and Zoom um, mindset trainings and mastermind groups. Here's what I learned. I don't like it. I don't like sitting in front of a computer. And so I had to navigate through a lot of different things. Now that we're opening up, I'm back in my element. I'm out face to face. But in that, I was able to get a book. And Julie and I have been talking about this. I was introduced to a publishing company, and I have been able to get that book, which is just about ready. It's on mindset. So I'm preparing to go and speak about that book. I'm lining up speaking engagements face to face. I'm open for that. And I just want to land my plane with this. It's always important to know what you don't want in order to be able to say what you do want. And I'm going to give my props to Michael because, Michael, if you remember a couple of Sundays ago, we were talking about this in your room and you helped me. And I was sharing the blockages and you were helping me. And here is what you said. Remember, you're going to get off this call today. Be ready. All the podcast invites are going to come. And boy, they started coming. So thank you, Jess, also for inviting me to be a part of what you're doing. Julie, thanks for your advice and being available for me to help me navigate publishing. And Michael, thank you for speaking into my life. You know, I'm one of your biggest fans. I'm like a puppy. I follow Michael because I learn something every single time this man opens his mouth. So if you ever want to come to Philly, Michael, not sure, not sure how I can compensate you, but I'm open. I would love for you to come to Philly. So thank you very much, everybody. This is Teresa Augustinelli from Philly, and this is a great room. I love this room. Thank you.
Teresa, appreciate you. Go on, Jess. What you want to say? She's complimenting you. Go on.
Oh, no, I was just clapping. Like, I love it. Like, I could feel it. I just could feel it. I love it. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. And I love this subject of in person versus Zoom and how like it's happening right now. That we're in the middle of this transition back, and you can't think that this doesn't exist. Hey, we're gonna hit our friend Julie Rocks. She's running here in a sec. So Julie, what do you got to say? Then we're gonna go to Harry and Dr. T. Hey, and Noopy, we got you. So Julie Rock, what's happening?
Hey everyone, so happy to be here. I just wanted to share something quick. I do have a podcast, Stay on Course, Ingredients for Success. I think I pushed past the pod. What do you call it, Julie? The pod fade? Yes, the pod fade.
Pod fade. You love podcasting. For someone who didn't never wanted to podcast, or made fun of me because I'm a podcast geek. You are like taking it by storm.
Julie Loken, you are a super podcasting geek. And yes, I did resist every minute of it. I'm up to 14 episodes. And I've learned a few things along the way. I wanted to share them. And one of those things is, yes, we are speaking. We are speaking in our podcast. We are creating presence in our podcast. We are creating energy in our podcast. However, one of the most important skills I have realized in podcasting is listening. And when I say this, I mean that listening on a very deep level, because you need to know when the next question presents itself. And so by listening at a very deep level, you're able to sort of get to that next great question, not being prepared for it. I don't prepare any questions previous to what I do. I just have real conversations, but I know, because I come with coaching expertise. And in coaching, you have to listen. There's 4 levels of listening that we're taught in coaching school. And so level 3, level 4, we're looking to find those magic words or that magic energy that we need to tap into that next great question. So I wanted to share that today because it's a really important part of podcasting. I know some of us are launching podcasts right now and we're thinking that it's so hard or we're going to not know what to say next. And really, the answer is all in the listening and asking the next right question. So thank you for letting me share that, guys. I hope you listen to my podcast. I just had Evan Carmichael on. It was amazing. And I'm just so jazzed about podcasting now because I'm getting so many amazing guests. All I'm doing is asking them and they're saying yes. So I just want to encourage everybody today and thank you for letting me speak.
Hey, Julie, you mentioned a key word that so many people here have probably encountered in their book writing, their podcasting, their development of an idea, this pod fade. So how did you overcome the pod fade? Just maybe a thought on that.
You know, I get very excited when I do my podcast. I can't tell you the high that I get from just connecting with people like that. So really tapping into my purpose and why I'm doing it, and really kind of realizing that I was created to do this. And so that keeps me going. Plus, I also know that consistency is king. And so my whole mantra of my business is stay on course. And so just staying on course, and of course having Julie Loken is also my friend. So we are friends. And so having a friend that is just going to push you forward and push you is super important. So communities like this, keeping you accountable, are super important, and really having a bigger why. I think the why is super important. So not only like having it attached to your purpose, but also it is attached to my business and what I want to do and succeed in my business for. So there's a lot of whys behind what I'm doing. And I think that's the reason why I've invested so much time. And it's not easy. It's fun, but it's work, it is work. I spend hours devoting time to this each week. And so that is my thought: passion and purpose and your why.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. Follow that why. If you follow your why, you're never off mission. With those decisions that you make, if you go back to the why, I'm always on the right path. So now I need a favor from you guys. Now we're going to go to Dr. Noopy.
Hold
Dr.
on.
Noopy. Yeah,
Dom,
Tom, do your thing.
can I throw something in there real quick before we move on to Dr. Noopy, who I'm excited to meet as well. So, but I just wanted to tack on to what Julie was just saying. There's 2 things that she brought up that I want to hit on real fast. And we'll go in reverse order. So the most recent thing that she mentioned was consistency. She said consistency is king, right? And she's 100% right. And so I just wanted to share one of the ways to be consistent with any of the content you produce, the projects you take on, the work that you do, is to make habits and build habits in your life around that project, right? So like for me right now, I have a project going on, like, obviously this room is a weekly habit for us. I have it on my schedule. It doesn't move. Things don't get scheduled there instead of it. It is in my calendar. It is a block of time that is set aside every Wednesday morning for this room, period. It's a habit. It happens every Wednesday. It is a habit. It is habitual, right? The other thing that I wanted to talk about with habits is right now I'm training for another Ironman. As you know, as anybody here knows who's followed me on social media, I got injured 6 weeks back. Actually, today was 6 weeks from surgery. I broke my collarbone. But when I started training, I made a commitment to do a daily vlog of my training. Today is day 58 since I started my training plan. I have done 57 videos of my training vlog. I have done one for every day that I have done training, and I've talked about what I've done, problems I've encountered, difficulties I've had, successes I've had, just sharing the story of my experience training. But I've made it a daily habit. It is something I do every day. So just making habits out of the things you want to be consistent with is a great way to sort of maintain that consistency, make it into daily habits, right? And the shorter, like the littler kind of pieces you can bite off on a daily basis, the easier those habits are going to be to build. And then the other thing I wanted to hit on really fast is talking about when Julie's talking about listening, right? So as somebody, I have a podcast that has been laying dormant for a little while. I've done 55 episodes. It is not an interview style podcast. That was by design. But in my background in television and in media, I have done hundreds of interviews of people ranging from lighthearted, fun subjects to people talking about the very recent loss of someone important to them. So a whole range of subjects and different emotional kind of stages and places, for the interviews that I've done. And Julie's 100% right. Listening is key. The best interviewers are the best listeners. 100%. I agree with that quote. I forget who said that first, but the best listeners are the best interviewers, right? And then the other thing too is always go into an interview with a framework set of questions, right? A set of questions that you want to hit on, things you want to talk about, things that you can use to demonstrate that you've done your research, that you're conducting a thoughtful, good interview, but never be afraid to steer off of that list and to follow something interesting to a conclusion, right? So listen so that you can stray off that list, so you can actually get the most interesting things out of your guest that you're interviewing if you have an interview style podcast. So I just wanted to share those tips from my experience with interviewing. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Dom. Thank you.
Tom, great tips there. I've probably done 100 interviews, and that to me, a basic, I need to study that person to find out. I'll watch other interviews because I don't want to ask the same dopey question that everybody else is asking, or the question I know how they're going to answer it. So sometimes I'll watch a professional boxer I'm interviewing or something like that. I want to know, well, everybody's asking them, how does it feel to be the first woman champion or this? Well, let's go a little bit different and ask some different kind of questions. And I'm not saying stick to them, but I wonder how much digging I would have to do to get to some of these things had I not done the research. So where I know I can go, I'm going to plant this question. This is a planted question that I know can get reaction, that can get feedback, that I can bring the interview back by asking this question. Because you could lose. I'm sure everybody here that's done. I was doing an interview one time. I didn't do my homework. And I said, well, how did you get, it was supposed to be a positive interview. And I said, well, how did you get to overseas? And the guest said, well, I got kidnapped. And it was a bomb that I didn't expect. And having not done my homework when that bomb was dropped, it took me a long time to turn the interview. I probably lost the interview, and it was a mistake. So I was caught off guard. So since we're talking this subject, we're gonna hit an expert. We're gonna go Dr. Tachi first, just to drop on this, and then we're gonna keep flowing. So Dr. Tachi, I think it would be good to if you could tackle this for you as somebody that's knocking out interviews probably daily. And go on, Dr. Tachi.
Oh, that's a great question. And good morning, everyone, or evening or afternoon, depending on where you are. And it's ironic. I was just viewed myself on a podcast. Was there? So I just came back to the mic. Was there something specific about interviews you wanted me to hint on, or just in general?
The question was, some people go with like the interview has to be 100% organic. Other people are like, well, I need Tom wanted like basically a skeleton. I prepare, even it's on like it's usually on a piece of paper in my pocket, that handwritten piece of paper, and I'll just look at it real quick before I go on, or in the middle. I'm like, oh, did I hit these 10? Okay, so what do you think? Can you go both ways, or what's the strategy from an expert like yourself, Dr. Tachi?
Thank you for rehashing that for me. So I think it can go both ways. Yes, definitely. I'm one because I also come from the world of journalism. I'm one that likes to prepare, but knows that sometimes the best information comes from the tangents from questions that you asked. Absolutely, whoever it was that said that listening makes for a great podcast, listening definitely makes for a great interview, because then the questions that you may have already had on the paper may be answered by something they're going to say. But if you're so hung up on, I have to ask these 10 questions in this order, you're not listening, and you end up repeating what was already answered. So listening for, something that may come out of that may spark another interesting direction or interesting question. So yes, I think definitely have some questions prepared, but also be prepared to go off script, because sometimes the best interviews come from those types of things. And if you've already done a pre-interview, if you have time to do this, meaning you send some questions in ahead of time to the person you're interviewing, so that you can get a gist of some of the things you may talk about, and then also you don't have to necessarily ask all those questions that are introductory. You can maybe get that out in the introduction portion, and then get into some things that are off the beaten path. I think for me, those make the best interviews. And then going to the point of what I said, asking ahead of time, for me, I don't always do that. In fact, I usually don't do that, because I like to have a sense of naturalness, a sense of organic answers that doesn't come if it is already pre-planned. So I tell people the types of questions that I'm probably going to ask, and then be prepared for others. But I don't generally give them the exact questions I'm going to ask, because it can make for a prepackaged sounding interview, in my opinion. I release the mic.
I wanted to tack on one thing there that popped into my head that I wanted to encourage people to do, and this was and thank you for that, Dr. Tachi, because that's I know you had stepped away, but always nice when you and I sort of echo each other, and you for sure echoed some of the things that I had said when you'd stepped away. So love that. And but anyway, I just wanted to say, one of the things that I think a trap that people fall into, especially when they're first doing interviews, is not only do they adhere too strictly to their list of questions, right? So strictly that in a lot of cases, and I've seen this on televised and interviews that are done that are broadcast on video, you can see the interviewer like literally ask a question, and then all they're doing is waiting to get to the next question on their list. And they're not actually listening to what the person is saying, the answers they're giving, and the opportunities to pursue some of those tangents that really unearth the unexpected, super interesting information. The other thing too, though, is never be afraid. People have a tendency, especially when they first start out interviewing, to be very factual in their interview questions, right? And in the types of answers that those questions elicit, right? So, how old were you when this happened? Or how did you start your business? Or did you have 2 partners or 3 partners, or, whatever it is, right? So it's very sort of fact-based interview questions. But what you want to also be doing, because remember, this show that you're doing, this podcast, this interview, whatever the context is, it's really about the audience, right? It's about providing value and information for the audience. So you have to give them something to identify with. So never be afraid to ask your interviewee how they felt at a moment in time, right? How did it feel when you realized your first business wasn't going to be successful, right? That is something that people can relate to, right? That is something your audience can really sink their teeth into. And that is an answer that they will perk up and pay attention to, right? They are less interested in how somebody financed their business and more interested on their personal journey as a business owner. So just something to remember, something to have in the back of your mind as you're doing these interviews. Don't be afraid to ask your subjects how certain moments in time felt for them. I'm complete.
Can I tack on one quick thing?
Of course, that's why you're here, Dr. Tachi. Anybody,
Well,
if you
thank
want to
you.
flash, go on.
Okay.
Do
Yeah,
your
no,
thing.
I didn't want to usurp more time. But
Tachi, how dare you? Answer away. We appreciate you. Go on.
so this may have been said already, but the interview is not about you. So sometimes one thing that I notice with some interviewers, it's great to have that conversation and bring in things organically. But some people will give a whole dissertation defense before they get to the question, and it's like, well, damn it, we didn't come to hear you talk. We need to hear from your interviewee. So it's easy unless it's going where in that direction where you're really having the conversation, and that's fine to bring in some points, but it's not about you, so you don't always have to bring up something from your experience, and let them talk. So because you probably only have a finite amount of time, so don't try and make it where you're constantly giving the added value. Let them talk. You invited them there for a reason. I release the mic.
That's a mic drop. Dr. Tachi, thank you very much. Okay, we are cruising this boat around. Now, here's what first, and I should have done this before. So my friend Dr. Noopy met her yesterday, Manchester United. After I told her about Clubhouse, I said she should get on. It's a great place to network, great place to connect with people. So she was brave enough to try Clubhouse today. So if you don't mind giving her a clap is when you turn off your mic and flash it. So Dr. Noopy, you see you are getting some flashes there. That's people that are appreciating you for stepping out of your comfort zone. So now,
Hi,
if
Dr.
you'd like,
Newbie.
see, and now they're introducing and yelling,
Hi, Dr.
cheering, cheering for you. Dr. Noopy, so introduce yourself, ask a question, drop a tip on anything we've been talking about today. Go on.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much, guys. This is incredible. It's so lovely to be here, and I'm just picking up tips left, right, and centre. So, wow. Thank you guys so much. So, I'm Dr. Noopy. I am a doctor in the UK, in Manchester, and I've basically pivoted my career in the last 10 months or so for a very, very something very close to my heart. I'm completely passionate about. I'm all about root cause approach to medicine and really looking underneath the delving into the underlying issues that somebody presents with. And I guess I'm spreading my message and how I do it. I've started on LinkedIn about 4 or 5 weeks ago and have done a few podcasts. So the tips that have gone on tonight, that have gone on this afternoon, have just been incredible. So thank you. And I just wanted to bring it back to what the original, what we were starting with about Zoom and in person versus online. And one thing I really missed, I must say, when I was consulting through the pandemic, was face-to-face contact. I'm an extrovert anyway, and I love people. But it was really hard. Everything was going online. Having said that, I wouldn't have met any of you guys if this technology wasn't available for us. So I've seen, for somebody who's a complete techie, I'm not very good when it comes to technology, to be very honest. The fact that I've pushed through my comfort zone actually and managed to do a few things like, I don't know, set up Canva and a few things like that. It's been incredible. My whole world has just opened up, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity without this. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. And oh my gosh, thank you for having me on.
Dr. Newpie,
I'm done.
We're glad you're here. We appreciate you. It's a cool app. Connect with people, follow them. You'll see there's a lot of great, like right below you, Billy. He's one of the best podcasters and influencers around. So Leslie, uh, Julie, Dr. Tachi, so many just powerful influencers. We're going to meet a man that I follow. I was on Julie's show the other day. We talked about the it factor. And you're going to meet Harry Spate here. Harry Spate is a guy that I believe has the it factor. Now the pressure's on, but he has a mission, and his mission is pure. He talks about selling with dignity. And you're like, what's that mean? And here's a guy that just is out there saying sales isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just do it with dignity. And so now he's podcasting. He's going to PodFest, and he's out in the world speaking. So Harry, tell us about this journey. What do we need to know, man? I got no question. I just want to me and Tom and Julie want to soak in your energy. So go on.
Oh my goodness, that's not going to be easy to live up to. So thank you for the intro. It's great to be in the room. You guys are brilliant. Love the guidelines, the guidance, the questions, the tips. Dr. Tachi and Tom, Julie, great stuff. Yeah, so Julie informed me yesterday that Joe Rogan really needs to be watching out for Harry Spate, because Harry Spate went from complete unknown to top 10%, which, by the way, translates to top 285,000 in the podcast ranking. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. 285,000 is way better than 2.8 million. So you got to have some fun in life. And yeah, the journey has been great in the past 7 months. First of all, touching on the Zoom thing. Yeah, I love Zoom and I love the technology. And you've got to, I'm 60 years old. I don't want to hear myself ever say I'm not good at anything. That's a huge red flag for me. So when I've said it, I realize that, look, that is a fixed mindset. I'm going to live until I'm like, whatever, 120. I don't care. I'm going to keep learning. And so Dominick says, well, you got to do these little videos. You got to get better at that. And then this stuff all starts coming together over time. It's the way I work. But I just did my first real TikTok video yesterday. I did an Instagram reel. I'm doing my best to embrace the technology. I just want to get better at it and show the world that, hey, sales does not need to be ugly. You can treat people with respect, serve people. Your business will come into play and you'll get the business by serving. That translates into living with dignity, showing that you cannot just be honest and have integrity and do the right thing in sales, then come home and be a jerk, right? So the correlation there is selling with dignity, living with dignity. And as we get older, right, it's like, how do we just keep showing the world that we're not going to just age and just go off and keep all of our whatever wisdom, brilliance to ourselves, but we're going to let the world know that this is out, this is what I've learned, and help others with it. So that's the mission, and I'm honored to be here with you brilliant folks, and I'll relinquish the mic.
Harry, spectacular job. And if you guys, driving me nuts, if you don't clip yourself when you come on and drop knowledge like that. Clubhouse was single-use content, and people were like, I'm not going on podcast, I'm not going on Clubhouse. It is single-use content, so it's live. Nobody could record it at the time. Now you can replay the rooms and you can replay yourself. So somebody like Harry, who just you spend a half hour on Clubhouse, and I don't know if he planned to planned to nail it like that? What do you, Tom? You think he had that written down and had rehearsed it 10 times, or you think it was off the cuff?
No, I don't think that Harry had that, written out as a speech in front of him. But I do think that, like anything, right? When there are things that we say often, right? When there are things that we say regularly, when we're in places, when we have opportunities where we're up in front of a group of people or we're speaking to a group of people, things we start to develop phrases and sentences and terminology, and we become better at presenting our thoughts and ideas. I mean, clearly, Harry is somebody who has spoken in front of people often, right, over the course of his career and his life. And he's become very good at relaying his ideas to people in a clear, cohesive, structured way that has, sort of a beginning, middle, and an end, and he's good at putting a period on his statements, and that's an acquired skill. So I don't think he had it written down, but I think he's got a lot of practice.
And go on, Harry.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say that, and I do it subconsciously, right? But it happens in time, over time, when you're speaking, especially in sales. You want to get to the point. In the mission work, you want to get to the point. You just don't ramble on. So eventually you get that. And with technology and not seeing faces, this was a real challenge for me. But yeah, it just starts to flow with a little bit of practice. It starts to flow, and it's good. So yeah, you're 100% right, Tom, and I appreciate you, my brother.
Feelings mutual, Harry. Feelings mutual.
Fabulous, man. And I've seen the journey for about a year or so with Harry, from stepping out and starting to share his story, and then to the man I see today. Like, I watched a video last night on Reels, and after Harry, I watched Harry's video on Reels. It was so good that I'm like, I need to do better. And here, a guy that wasn't putting himself there, now he has a clear message, is on mission, and is really out there making a difference. His message of selling with dignity is making a difference. So kudos, brother. Keep up the good work. All right, we're resetting. I'll pull down here. We got our friend Billy. We got Cirillo here. I think this is Cirillo and our friend Leslie. So I think Charlie, Cirillo's challenging you, because Cirillo is really fine dressed here. He's got cool shades, cool tie. I even like how his knots there. Artist, voice, creative manager. I can't even read all this stuff. Cinematics. He's into some stuff, man. So Cirillo, you got a tip for us or a question? Go on, my friend.
Oh yeah, today I have a question, guys. Welcome. I'm so used to speaking as a host that I'm saying welcome, but today I'm here as the listener and the student, actually. But thanks for that introduction. I'm Cirillo. I'm a creative manager and also an artist, and I'm currently in the ideation phase of creating a podcast. So it's really in the beginning phases. But I'm from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, which is in Europe for those that don't know. I have my roots, like I said, in music, but currently I work in a plethora of like different media projects, and I love working with anything related to media, specifically voice and audio. So, like I said, I'm working on building something up here, and I already, in the short time that I've been in this room, I heard some really inspiring words. So thank you all in the panel for that. Yeah, today I'm here as a student, and I have maybe a little bit of a different question. It's a bit more practical, but it kind of runs off of what Harry was talking about. Um, I'm really interested in your guys' opinions on to what extent does social media now play an actual role in your business activities day to day, and specifically within engaging with your clients. And if it's a big part, how has it improved or changed the engagement with clients compared to pre-COVID? Because that's something that I've been really struggling with, coming from music, and also being really heavily involved in actual interpersonal connection and being cut off from that. So that's something that I would love your opinions on, or stories. Anything that you could share is very helpful to me. So thank you, guys.
Love this message, man. Love the question. And I think it's 100% ingrained. Another touch point. Let's touch on, hey, Billy, you're all over this. So let's go Billy and Harry on this, and anybody else who wants to jump in. Billy, go on.
Hey, Dominic, man, I'm really sorry, man. My 3-year-old just
No, you're good, man.
got
The question,
got super needy there for a second. So let me come back to you. Let me get him settled in.
okay, so we're good. So the question is, so for me, it's another touch point. It's how many times can I touch client? How many times can I support? How many times can I show them that I'm there? And not in some creepy way or something, but they're putting out content that they believe in. And so to see that content, what should we do see it? To be some people are so consumed in their own stuff, and Tom talks about his reciprocity and this, so I'll let him speak to that. But this idea that people are putting out a message they believe in, and you need to support that message. So I think it's the quickest way to Cirillo. I think it's the quickest way. You can't always call, but I can always real quick on one of those platforms make a comment or a DM or something like that. So Harry, you want to touch on that, and then we'll go Harry and then Tom on reciprocity or wherever he wants to go. Go on, Harry.
Yeah. So just touching on the social media thing is like, why wouldn't we want a larger audience? So if part of my audience is on TikTok, which again, TikTok has replaced Google as the top whatever. More people are going to TikTok than Google, I guess. Then I want to be there. If Instagram Reels is where a lot of people are, then why wouldn't I want to be there? Right. So these are things that I'm thinking about now that before I just didn't. And then as I watch people and Dom and I see what others are doing, yeah, my thought was, again, I'm not that guy. I'm not good at that. And then it's just like, as soon as I catch myself saying that, I just got to jump in and go forward. So why wouldn't we want a larger audience if we believe in our message? That's what I ask myself. So that's why I do what I do. And over the mic for that one. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Harry. And I think, from my perspective, I look at social media, in as sort of like a modern digital signpost, right? So for the same reasons that if you had a brick and mortar business, you would want to put a sign on the front of the building or out in front of the building on the road telling people where your business is and where they can find your business. I look at it professionally the same way, right? So you want to have a presence on social media so that people know who you are, what you do, and where they can find you. The place where I tend to, and there are lots of people who have built businesses on social media, I tend to kind of tread around that or skirt that. And that's really because I don't like the idea of building a business that is dependent on someone else's platform that can be taken away. Right. So I think if you're going to build a business, use social media to draw an audience and then move that audience to a platform that you control, right? That you own. But yeah, I mean, I sorry, say that again.
No, that's a very good point. Like to have your own website or platform and actually use that social media to reel people and funnel them into your own platform finally, right? So you're kind of
Yeah.
maintain that independence.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, look at it as your digital signpost, right? It's your digital billboard out in front of your business, out on the road that people are going by and they get a chance to see you, see who you are, see what you stand for, see what your business is. And I'll just share like as a personal anecdote. So, I've in the last few weeks, as in-person events have been sort of climbing in frequency and popularity again. I've been to a bunch of networking events in the last few weeks, and in those networking events, I've had a bunch of people who I've never met before in person, right? And maybe never even had a conversation with online, right? People I don't really know. I've had come up to me and ask me how my Ironman training is going, how my collarbone feels, how I'm healing up. I've had people come up to me across the room and say they recognized me in my hat because I always have my hat on, right? Dominick can attest to that. I don't know if he's ever seen me without a hat on. I was using it as an example, and somebody said, I don't even know if Tom has the top, like, I don't even know if there's a top on Tom's head, right? For all I know, the hat is the top of Tom's head because I've never seen him without it on, right? So, just little things like that. If you show up and you have sort of a visual presence and an identity on social media, it will translate into the real world. But again, I definitely steer clear of building a business on a platform that is subject to the whims of somebody else. And I know plenty of people, I'm looking at one right now named Dominick, who lost a huge following for reasons I don't even think what happened with that Twitter with that Twitter handle you had, right? You would spend all kinds of time building up a big following on Twitter, and boom, all of a sudden you woke up one day and it was just gone, right? So don't build your business on a platform that somebody else controls, because you could wake up one day and it could just be gone. So that's all I got for that. I hope that helps, Cirilla. Does that help answer your question?
Man, tremendously. Thank you so much for that input, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anybody else that wants to chime in?
I think I saw Charlie flashing. Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, I just want to say that I used Facebook for two opportunities that changed my life. I made a simple Facebook post in 2012 when Star was shot and the public was in uproar about the dog. I made a simple remark: what about the man? Does he need help? And then the East Village Times and a reporter contacted me and did a report and put it in East Village Times that I was willing to help the man. And from that, my Facebook page grew. And then I wound up with one of the top stories in New York City in 2014, which I would have had to probably hire a huge production company to be able to get a top story in New York City with millions of people. So Facebook and social media will always be near and dear to my heart because it was the vessel that gave me the ability to say something outside of my own four walls at home. That completes me.
Well said, brother. Well said. Cirillo, and I just back to what Harry said earlier too about you don't know what platform people want to consume your message on. So I have this belief. Let's say I share inspiration, positivity, and smiles every day. My mission is to share inspiration, positivity, and smiles. What if there are people on TikTok right now looking for inspiration, positivity, and smiles? If I'm not on that platform, here's people probably looking for that kind of thing on that platform, and I'm not there. So a lot of people were like, well, TikTok's too young. So like I have authors that do feisty 50s and 60s and things like that. And now they're on TikTok killing it. I had one of my authors, he did, it's called Undateable, the book. And I'm like, you should get on TikTok. You should get on TikTok. Now, you would think people are probably talking about dating on TikTok. Now he's getting millions of views on TikTok and selling millions of views. Like he'll send me a message, got 1 million views on this, Undateable, the book. So yeah, and do you think that doesn't help people hear his message, that maybe tune into his podcast, that look for his coaching or something like that, all because he put himself out on one of those other platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's one more platform. So now let's meet our friend Leslie, and then we're going to go back to my man Billy. So let's go. Leslie, welcome. Nice to see you again.
Stop running the I'm fascinated.
Hold on, Tom. Is Leslie in the vortex?
Yeah, Leslie's in the vortex for me too, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh, can you hear me now?
Oh, that was better. Come back. Unmute yourself. Come back. It was better for a second.
Okay, how's that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's not bad. Go on.
Okay. What I can say is to come out with us all as a passionate podcaster. In order to be successful, we all are good listeners. And I was fascinated as a little girl with watching reruns of the Cabbage Show, watching as a little girl in the 80s, Merv Griffin, all the way up to now. I personally, some of the stuff he does, I'm just like, But I think at this point of his age, Howard Stern should really focus on interviews. He is amazing. If you ever heard him interview anyone, he really has people take their guards down, truly subconsciously initially, and letting him open up words that most people cannot do. And that's what I find so fascinating. And the tools that I brought to the table with going into companies, speaking to them, creating those relationships, bullshit with the pitches and the proposals and the websites. It's the power of getting into that door, speaking, creating a relationship, networking one-on-one with the executives, employees, um, and asking the proper questions to really get to know them. And that's what I love that I bring to the table through podcasting. So if you ever happen to have an opportunity, I'm sure most of you know Howard Stern, but listen to his conversation, the way that he just comes out with such amazing questions, really speaking into and having people really tell their story. So that's my share. Thanks.
Leslie, well said. We got what you were saying and cut in and out a little bit, but thank you. And Howard Stern, whether you like him or hate him, he is a great interviewer. He really gets people to answer questions and share things that they share nowhere else but on his show. He's asking the question. He has an ability, which I think is best for me, what I find really unique. He has the ability to ask a question nobody else can ask or they're afraid to ask her, and he's able to dig into that question, and it might be uncomfortable, but he can get there without being rude or cruel or so it's quite interesting. Okay, we're back to our man Billy. Billy, you've heard this subject. I like Billy. Billy's 100% authentic. You see his hat on backwards. If you watch his Instagram reels and videos, he's a funny dude, but he tells it like he is. He tells you how to monetize, and really, I'll use this word. It's no bullshit. Like you can see the guy's living it. He's doing it. So what do you got going on, Billy?
Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate the invite up. I believe it was Julie who invited me. Just got a couple moments here because I am on dad duty and we're getting ready to head to the park and do some stuff. But yeah, love the conversation. Love everything that you guys do in this room, this space, and anything that pushes the creator forward. Really enjoy those types of conversations. So yeah, man. I mean, the only thing I have to contribute is consistency isn't king. Content is king, and focus on your content, focus on your niche, focus on your why, and then consistency is second. Like if you're consistently producing garbage, then nobody listens. So produce something, see if it resonates, and then double down on whatever that is. Yeah, so that's what I've been learning over the last few years of being a podcaster. Not an expert by any means. And then also the last little tip here, Dominic. And sorry I'm being so like, but you built me up to be a little bit of an asshole, so I guess I'll live up to it. But
No, man. If I did, I 100%
dude,
apologize. What I'm saying is
I'm
authentic
joking.
as can
I'm
be.
messing
Go
with
on,
you.
go on.
I'm messing with you.
All right.
But I think the second part is what I've really learned is no matter how long people have been in any industry or whatever, don't be afraid to challenge it, because I was able to monetize super early a podcast that wasn't qualified to traditional standards. And I've also been able to launch a membership group, now getting ready to launch another business, all through this niche that we've, kind of doubled down on. So that's what I would share, man. And I'm back to dad duty, so I'll listen in here. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Jess, did you want to add something? And Billy is a star, man. And so I do want to say, like, I follow his content and he tells it like it is. So you could be doing something or the group could be doing something and he'll call that's bull, and say, well, that's a phony way of doing things. Let's this. And so you see, when people say they can't monetize, they can. You just have to ask the questions and do the thing. So let's go to Jess. Jess, you were clapping. You might have been clapping, but go on.
I just was like I felt it, like listening to Billy. I'm just like sitting here. I literally stopped typing because I'm just like I resonated it so much, and just real quick. I mean, I speak just for myself as a female who I'm in the entertainment industry, and it's male dominated. It's, this is just the cold hard facts. But it's just, I was listening to him, and man, it really touched me, and I really wanted to just say thank you. Just because I feel if you don't give if you miss out on the opportunity to tell someone you're grateful for the words that they're saying, you don't get that opportunity back. So that's what I wanted to say, because I'm a firm believer in just, that's who I am as a person, that's who I am in business, and I'm just never going to change that. And thank you for being just so straightforward, because I get it.
Love it. And it's so great to have people by your side too that will tell you like it is. And some of, like, I'll have my dad read my books before I publish them, like my own books. And my dad will say, well, I don't get why you said this. I don't get why you said that. Or I have a cousin that I'm very close to that helps me with a lot of stuff. And he's cranky and he's crotchety, but he tells me his truth. And I appreciate hearing from him. I don't always agree with him, but I know he's going to shoot me straight. When I had a restaurant and I created Tom, I went from the Cosby's when I had the restaurant. One of the meals we tried was a bacon beef burger dog, wrapped a hamburger, wrapped a hot dog in hamburger, wrapped in bacon. And it was terrible. My cousin's like, this is terrible, right? And it is good. Rather than putting it on my menu, I had a cousin that was honest with me. And you don't have to bang your head against a wall when somebody else already has. If there's experts out there, like in this room, you come hang out. And if Dr. Tachi says, don't do it that way, because I've worked with 1,000 people that have tried that, it doesn't work. Well, you can still try it, maybe be 1,001, or you could just take the advice of others and learn from it. So thank you, Billy. Thank you, Jess, for the kind words. Tom, go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I just wanted to circle back to something Billy was talking about that he also threw in the chat. And he was just saying, when he was talking about content is king, not consistency, that content comes first. I agree with him on that. I think, really it's important that you have good, intentional content, and then you put that content out consistently, right? You show up with that content consistently, but it has to be good to begin with. It can't just be, it can't be something that doesn't inspire conversation, inspire action. It has to be a good idea. You need to start with a good idea and then move forward from there and consistently act on that idea. But the thing I wanted to make sure that we delineate, right, and that we draw a contrast between is that there's a big difference between having a good idea and good content off of that good idea and having overproduced or highly produced or high production value content, right? Those are not the same thing. The value of the content is not solely determined by how much money you spent on making it, right? And I think that TikTok is a very clear example of that. The success that a lot of people have seen on TikTok, and the success that a lot of creators have found on TikTok with getting their content in front of a lot of eyes, right? Not monetary success. That's a whole different conversation. But the success that a lot of creators have seen with getting their content in front of a lot of people and having a lot of people really appreciate the content they're putting out, is really proof that all you need is a good idea and a phone and practice in order to be successful with creating content, right? So all you need is a good idea, a way to record that content, and then consistent practice in putting that content out and creating that content. And you can find success that way. So I just wanted to share that. And then wanted to go to Johnny, see what Johnny has to say on the subject we're talking about. Johnny, the floor is yours. What do you got?
Good morning, friends and foes. I've been in and out this morning, but my name is John Pike. I'm the prophet of pop culture. You can call me Johnny. I'm a multidisciplined storyologist, published author, artist, podcaster, host of the Back of the Cereal Box podcast. And I entertain the world one audience at a time, one story at a time. And, there's just a ton of great information being shared here this morning. This is why I jump in these rooms, and always glad to participate. One of the reasons I came on this morning is because, Dominick, you are so good at connecting people and putting people in touch. I am looking to make a shift in my podcast journey, and I am looking for someone to come on board my team as a director, not a producer, a director, to help direct the cast and direct the content and the direction of the content on a weekly basis. It's a fine line, but I'm just look. It's hard for me to be the talent and the director at the same time. So I'm looking for someone who would be interested in plying their trade and helping us out on Back of the Cereal Box. So anyway, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you guys might have. Again, I've been in and out this morning on client calls, so I haven't heard all of the discussion, but love Dominick and everything he does. Keep it positive, keep it non-toxic. I'm Johnny. I'm done. Ta-da.
Hey, Johnny, man, we appreciate the love. Tom, go on. I want to ask him. I hate when I say I want to ask. Just ask the stupid question. Okay, so I'm going to ask how he produces. He's involved in 20 different concepts and produces content consistently on all of them. So I want to go there, but go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, Johnny, feel free to hit me in the DMs. I may be able to help you out finding somebody to fill that need in your business. So hit me up in the DMs, man. Happy to chat about it. Go ahead,
So
Dom.
yeah, so
Excellent.
here's where I'll be direct. Billy taught me to be direct. So Johnny, people are complaining that they can't produce one post. Well, what am I going to write tomorrow? What am I going to write on Thursday? I'll post this post. I'm going to write this and I'm going to post it next Thursday. That'll be good. Next Thursday at 10, I'll post this post. That's 7 days from now. No chance. No chance anybody sees it when they need to see it because the algorithms only let them 5 to 10% of the content through. So how do you produce so much content and keep putting it out there?
So I don't want to call it a template. I have a principle that I follow. Every day, I try to post on social media 3 pieces of content that have specific purposes. One, I post about the show, either a new episode or a previous episode. 2, I post about something coming up, a live event, or something newsworthy in our industry that appeals to our audience. Like this morning, I posted the poster for the Disney Plus She-Hulk series coming out with a question. What do you guys think about the upcoming series for August? So I post news that is relevant or that is going to encourage discussion. And then I post something fun, positive, a joke, a meme, or, a little question like, should we review Silverhawks or Thundercats this weekend? Just, and I do that at least 3 times a day. And I do that across social media. Sometimes it's different for different platforms, but that's my goal, is at least 3 times. And I'm very timely. So I'm not planning posts out, days or weeks in advance. I'm a very in the moment kind of guy. So I woke up this morning, I said, what's on our minds today? What do I need to communicate today? And that's what I do. And I know that goes against the grain of all the social marketers who say, you got to plan it and schedule it. And I've done that in the past. And sometimes I do when I need to. But, our audience is in the moment. The people that we're communicating with are in the moment. And so I tend to live in the moment. And that's just me. That's what works for me.
I'm just going to share to tack onto that, Johnny, and this may be what you do, but I'm just going to share it generally with the room because I think it's a really valuable tip that somebody gave me, and I'm always looking to pass on information and value that I come across with the people in my orbit and in my world and in my community. And so it's this: if you're looking for ways to create content or things to share with your audience, right? Go to Google News, set Google News alerts for things that are important to your audience, to your niche, to your business, that are pertinent to your industry, right? You can set Google News alerts, and then every day you get stuff funneled to you, right? That you can then turn around and share, right? You can do a screen grab, share it as an image. You can actually share and then link the article in the comments, which is a great way to do it because when you share content on, this is just one of those things. Like obviously Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook, LinkedIn wants you to stay on LinkedIn, Instagram wants you to stay on Instagram, right? So if you share outside links, those tend to get sort of downplayed, right, in your content feed. But if you do a screen grab and then put the link in the comments, your post will rank a little bit better and get pushed out to more people potentially. That's the theory anyway. I'm not a data scientist, so I don't know for sure. But yeah, set Google News alerts, and you will have like sort of a never-ending stream of content ideas funneled at you on a daily basis that you can then use to create posts and make it a daily habit.
You're absolutely right. I use Google alerts. I use the AP Newswire because I get that every day, and you can customize the AP Newswire to your industry. And I am on news alerts from specific companies in our industry. So I get new release news, preview copies of comics from Marvel Comics, Image Comics, DC Comics, because we talk about comic books on our show a lot. I am on the pre-release lists for several breakfast cereal companies because we review breakfast cereals on our show. And so, yeah, getting those news alerts, getting plugged into news wires in your industry is a huge way to repurpose content. And exactly, Tom, I don't post a link. Sometimes I do post a link to an article. But normally, when I'm getting those articles fed directly to me, I'm copying and pasting from my email with the image and I'm posting it native. That still gives, the credit to the news source because it's got the byline, who wrote it, and all of that. But it is now posted as native content in the platform. I'm talking mostly about Facebook because that's where our audience lives. So that's where I focus our marketing efforts. But native posts in that platform, not links out, and that includes Facebook, LinkedIn, any of the social media platforms. And same thing with like if you're doing video on TikTok and then sharing that TikTok to Instagram is going to be pushed down. So create your content in TikTok, save it without the watermark, and then upload it natively to Instagram. And that will make sure that more people see it. So good tips there, Tom. I'm Johnny. I'm done. Ta-da!
Wealth of knowledge. I follow Johnny religiously, and I'm on everything, whether it's ghost tours, whether it's, I even know his daughter just graduated. Was it, I don't know if it was high school or college, but congratulations. I mean, I'm in. And so I like to see, he lets us in on his life a little bit. So, and then he also shows us what's going on with the businesses and things like that. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I had like 3 tips. They were just starting out on social. And I just thought, well, here's 3 basic tips. And you guys just hit on it, one of them. And it was like minds. So early on, you're struggling with what kind of content you want to create. You're like, oh, how am I going to create content? Like Tom and Johnny just said, what about the like minds? You go to those news sources that are, it's not your content, it's their content, but you're giving them credit, like Johnny said. And all of a sudden, now you make it. At first, you might just share that article. Here's something interesting from Netflix. And then later on, you might say, well, here's my take on this article. That's the lowest hanging fruit in content creation. My two other tips are be social on social, and then document. Document means turn that camera around. First, when you're not at first, you don't even have to turn that camera around. It could be a picture of us doing Clubhouse with Tom today. Lots of great guests. That's it. That's documenting what's going on. It could be taking a picture of the screen. Me and Charlie went out for lunch the other day. At lunch with Charlie, hanging out in Penn State. So that's documenting what's going on. Go on, Johnny.
Well, something just occurred to me. My template, my process is promote, promote, inform, entertain. So 3 posts that promote, that inform, and then entertain. That's my principle.
Good stuff, Johnny. And one thing about Johnny too, and there's not an ask on every post. There's not an ask on. There might be an ask on 1 out of 50 of my posts. So many people think I got to ask. I got to try to sell you something with every post. It's such a business. They're trying to get something. Tom's shaking his head. Right? They're trying to get something out of every post. I'm gonna post this funny thing and immediately ask you to do something for me. How about just give? Go on, Tom.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. That's exactly what I was going to say is like, just give value, right? Give value, whether that's value through entertainment, value through inspiration, value through information, value through storytelling, however you present that value to your audience, just give value, right? And just let people know where that value comes from, right? Where it came from. And they will look for opportunities to return it to you. If they receive the value you're giving, they will look for opportunities to return that value to you. It's the rule of reciprocation. And I'm just going to there it is, right? Dominick's throwing his hands up in
Everybody
the
take
air.
a shot. Tom dropped the rule of reciprocity, reciprocation.
The rule of
That's the
reciprocation.
game.
Yeah. The rule of reciprocation. And I'm going to prove to everybody in here right now that it's something that is ingrained in us, this rule of reciprocation, right? So if anybody in here has kids, you'll be able to relate to this. For the rest of you, you all were kids and this was done to you. If you haven't done it to somebody else, if you haven't raised a kid or interacted with young children, but when kids are really little, you've probably seen adults do this or parents do this with their kids if you're not a parent. But parents in the room, I guarantee that all of you have done this. When your kids are really young, less than 18 months old, pre-verbal, right? Whenever you give them something, right? When you would hand them something, you would say to them, right? You would give them the thing and then you would say, and now you say thank you, right? Kid can't talk. Kid does not speak English yet, right? And you're saying to them, and now you say thank you. And what you're teaching them is to follow the rule of reciprocation. You are teaching them that when someone gives you a gift, when someone gives you something, you give them gratitude in return, right? By saying thank you. That's how we give gratitude, right? Using language, right? So we say thank you. When someone gives you something, that's how you give them gratitude in return. So it's baked in. We're taught to follow this rule of reciprocation, that when someone gives you something, you have to give them something in return. We're taught to follow this idea from before we can even walk and talk, right? From the earliest stages of our development, we're taught to follow the rule of reciprocation. It is literally sort of the cornerstone of cooperative and civilized society. So if you provide value to your audience and then you let them know where you that value comes from, who gave them that value, right? You tie that value to you, your brand, your business, etc. They will look for opportunities to return that value to you, right? They will actively pursue opportunities to return that value to you. So just follow that rule of reciprocation, and I guarantee it'll work. Make sure you give freely, give openly, give often, and it will be returned to you. I'm complete.
See, Tom should be using the clips. That was great. What a wrap up. I give frequently. What was it, Tom? Give frequently. Give. Right.
Give openly, give freely, and give often.
Perfect, man. Thank you. Hey, we're going to meet, since he wrote the book on it, Selling with Dignity, about serving first. Harry, you want to touch on that? Or we call him Sweet Tea Harry Spate because our friend Dave Campbell created this in another room I'm in. Sweet Tea, because one day we're in a room and there's all this squeaking in the background. And Dave Campbell said that Harry must have been on his porch with a rocking chair drinking sweet tea. So Harry Sweet Tea Spate, who wrote the book Selling with Dignity. Go on.
You're cracking me up. So yes, I did get some WD-40, and the squeaking has gone away. So yes, Tom, I love what Tom says on this, on reciprocation. I've been a big fan of it. I never knew what it was called, but for years I used to tell my sales teams. I mean, I'm going back 15 years ago and saying, do the right thing. You get paid back in ways that you don't expect. And I hear this so many times when people network and they say, well, so and so is such a taker. I give them referrals, they never give me anything. And I asked one person, and I've asked this a few times, but I remember one in particular, I said, do you ever get deals, opportunities that just drop out of the sky on you? And the person says, yeah. I said, that's the payback. It's not necessarily coming from the person, it comes from somewhere else, but your generosity is going to get repaid somewhere. You just have to be open to it and basically stop complaining about giving your stuff away, because that's just selfish. Just let it go, do the right things, good things will happen. So when I heard Tom talk about this, it immediately resonated with me. So that's what I think, and I'll hand over the mic. Thanks for asking, Dom.
Hi, can I make a comment?
That's how we roll. Who do we got here? Who wanted to make a comment?
Hey,
Meta
Meta
Ruth.
Ruth.
Okay, I was coming to you. Go on. I think it was Meta Ruth that wanted to make a comment. Go on.
Yes. Hey guys, my name is Meta Ruth, and Harry, I absolutely love that. That what you just said. I've been listening to you guys for a bit. First of all, I just want to say this conversation is absolutely wonderful. I saw Dr. Tachi. She's very meaningful to me. I get quite emotional when it comes to her, because she's a very big supporter. Even if she doesn't talk much, she shows up. She shows up and she listens. And as a domestic violence survivor, that's all we want. We just want someone to listen, and that's what she does. And when I see her, I want to be there because I know she's going to drop gems. And she's a very powerful woman, and I want to be a powerful woman like her. And she's fierce, and I'm glad that I followed her because she brought me into this room where there's so many intelligent people in this room, and I'm so happy to be in this room that I shared this room in my Discord, and in my Discord I have other people, we're domestic violence survivors, and I'm looking to help others. And my biggest thing is that I turned my life around in 1 year. Last year, I survived, brain injury, things like that. And what I found was, the way I live is, in order to I live by the saying is, one, never look down on anyone unless you're helping them up. That's number one. And number two is, it's good to be blessed, but it's better to be a blessing. And, I never had to ask for anything, ever. I've never had an investor in my life. Everything I've done with my own money. And I've been a very successful entrepreneur my whole life with my own money. I've hit the pavement. I come from sales, door knocking, solar, insurance. And
I think we lost her.
Oh, I think we lost your Meta Ruth in the vortex there.
She was killing it too.
Yeah,
So
I
let's
know.
Prof T I think had a quick question, and if Meta Ruth comes back, we'll jump to her. So Prof Teresa, go on.
Thank you. I just love this room. I just love the decorum. I love the integrity and the transparency. And I just want to say two quick things with um, information and social media. You know,
the
for me, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Am I interrupting?
Hey, hold on. We're going to go. Meta, you cut out for a second. We're going to hit Prof T, and then we'll be back to you right after Prof T's done. Give us a sec. Go on.
yeah. So the message is is the content is is what draws people to you, and that's how you build an audience. That's how you build community. So at the end of the day, if you're a Clubhouse person, podcast person, if you're an interviewer, moderator, you're at the end of the day, you're a community builder. That's what you are. And in order to be successful, you have to be a community builder and you have to be a leader. And how do you be a community builder? How do you be a leader? You have to be genuine. And if you care about people, you will be successful. And that's it at the end of the day. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys. And I'm glad that those were the words that I was hearing today is focus on the content and focus on the message.
Meta, thank you for being here. You got yourself a new follower. I pushed follow on this. I pushed follow on her Instagram, follow on her Twitter. So um, love what you're saying, and always love to Dr. Tachi. We're quite appreciative of Dr. Tachi. She's an expert. She's a voice of kindness, a voice of reason, a straight shooter, and pretty fashionable too. And I even watched Dr. Tachi's pre-show of her show. So hey, so now to Teresa. Teresa, you had a thought. Let's go to that.
Thank you. I love you, Meta Ruth. I'm going to follow you. Just love your energy. I wanted to say quick two things with content. Um, I I have learned to reprocess my stuff. So I'm putting things on that I've had 2, 3 years ago. You can repurpose your stuff so you're not all bogged down worrying about new content. There's stuff everywhere. And so I've been repurposing some of my voiceovers, some of my posts, some of my pictures, some of my quotes, my memes, parts of my book I use as a post. So that's one thing that I do, which has been very helpful. It takes the pressure off. Secondly, a lot of times you hear on Clubhouse, people are so worried about other people stealing their information and stealing your quotes and stealing your content. You know what? You can say the same thing that someone else says, but it's your story. So you can put your own personal flavor to it. So I don't worry about people taking my stuff. I find it actually very encouraging and an honor when people use some of my content and make it their own. That's fine. You can use what I said. It's amazing. We're all repurposing everybody's stuff anyway. And you get your own flavor and you draw your own audience. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm already a leader in my community. I'm over here in Philly. I don't pretend to be some big guru on Clubhouse or social media. I'm already doing what I'm doing in my communities, helping people, and I'm okay with that. And it's actually helping me get to the next level. And then I'm going to follow up and land with this. I haven't made a dime on this app, you guys. I haven't made a dime on social media. In fact, I've spent more money than I've made in trying to better myself personally and professionally, learn how to do stuff. I haven't received any payment for anything I'm doing. So I already know I'm happy with what I'm doing in my area. I don't need anything like you said, Meta Ruth. I do my own thing. I've done it myself. I don't ask for anything. But I do know that the universe will attract you to the right people. Like attracts like. So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Um, I do like going on podcasts with people. I don't like doing my own. I don't do it anymore, but I would much rather be a guest than a host. Learn to do what you love to do and make sure you know what you don't like. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Prof. We appreciate you being here. Charlie, what do you want to add to that?
I really, really appreciate Prof T. She brings so much, and she's giving us a lot. And I believe her cup is going to runneth over. And her son's a hero in the Pennsylvania law enforcement. So, Prof T, if you weren't on social media, I would have never heard your story or your son's story. I believe, again, your cup is going to runneth over from all this good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Love you, Charlie.
Positive vibes, man. We love it. And we consider this one of the things we try to do here is this is a safe space. So if anybody ever wants to ask a question, we try to call everybody up, but when the stage gets big, I might have missed somebody. So I take the blame. But anybody, if you want to come up, ask a question, share a tip, we're going to try to get you on. And we have a few more people. We're going to wrap up here in about 10 minutes or so, but we're going to meet my dear friend Brian. We got a mod. A mod's got a story. Eric and Angela, if you guys hang out, we're going to get to all you. So, Brian, you want to give us some inspiration, your thoughts? Where you at on all this, my friend? Brian's the king, my king. He let me, him and his wife, before I even met him in person, they let me stay at their house in Chicago one time. So that's a stand-up guy. I stole his shampoo. Go on, Brian.
Nah, thanks for the stage, Dominic. Uh, everybody out there is spoke so much wisdom. I love listening. Usually I'm up on top with Dom, but it's nice to have spent so much time being able to listen. And I echo the wisdom of and sentiments of everybody that has spoken. So, so many wise people. I love being a part of these groups. I love learning. And God gave us 2 ears and one mouth so he could listen twice as much as we talk. So today was a good day because I had a chance to do more listening than speaking. But I'm a believer, like everybody here, that kind of what goes around comes around, whether you call it reciprocation or karma, um, good mojo. I've always said to my kids and people that I've coached, you get what you want out of life by helping people get what they want out of life. So it starts with helping others, always has, and it always will. So that's one of the pieces to the formula moving forward. So thank you, Dom and Tom. You guys do a great job of hosting and putting the room together, as well as other rooms. So I hope everybody has a chance to follow you guys, because I know this isn't the only room you do, and not just follow you here, but follow you on LinkedIn and all the other places. You're going to sit back and listen a little more, and then I'm headed off very soon. I do a radio show called Brian the Quadfather Swift, All Things Inspirational. It is based out of the Chicago suburbs. It is on at 12:05, 1340 AM WJOL. So I get a chance to host my own radio show, which has been a blessing. And it came to me. So it came to me out of nowhere. And without having all the answers and pieces of the puzzle, I accepted it. And I think sometimes in life, so my bit of wisdom is sometimes you got to accept it and then figure it out. Take that challenge and move forward. You don't know, there's sometimes not the right time, and most of the time you don't have all the answers. But I guess between faith, my faith, and great friends, many in this room, between those two things, things tend to work out. So if you're waiting on something or waiting for a good time to start it or move forward, don't just jump in both feet, intelligently, and move forward. So God bless. I'm going to sit back and listen. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you for the motivation, the friendship. Um, Producer Jimmy says sometimes when she's in here, look left, look right, look up, look down, and follow those people, connect with them. And Brian is one of the many that you should connect with in this room. And Brian's been told a lot of times in his life that he shouldn't or couldn't be able to do something. And Brian hunts, he fishes, he goes out and does some amazing things. And you can follow Brian and learn more about his story. But here's a guy that, like he said, he just does it. And went out, started telling his story. And he went out, started telling his story, trying to make a difference, starts a nonprofit, and uses the notoriety from publishing books, radio show, things like that. And he's raised $250,000 to help people get in, to help make the outdoors more accessible to people that would struggle going outdoors with wheelchairs, with swimming, with things like that. And imagine raising $250,000, sharing your story, making a difference in that many lives. And he continues to do it. So everybody in this room, make sure you follow everybody you can. There's a lot of great people in here. Go on, Brad.
Thanks, Tom, for sharing the story. I don't like to jump on and always jump into the nonprofit thing or what most people don't know about me, being confined to a wheelchair. I'm a C5, C6 quad, and I've been blessed to not let it get in my way. But I think jumping in and moving forward is, as well as, kind of my trinity of what drives me, which is faith, family, and friends. Then I keep those three blessings very dear to me. If you do that, you'll be able to move your purpose forward, like many of you have. So, thanks much. I'm complete.
You're the man, Mr. Swift. Okay, Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We're gonna wrap up in a few minutes, but if we got a tip or a question from Ahmad, Eric, and Angela, we want to meet them. So make sure we'll just move a little quicker. I'll expedite the process, which I might not be good at, and I'll end up telling some story about how I got beat up in high school. Anyway, Ahmad, you're up, my friend. Go on. We lost him. We'll move forward. Eric, what do you got going on? Eric's got a youth claim. My mission is to help coaches and leaders clarify their message, man. Good stuff. We need that. So, Eric, you want to drop a tip or ask a question? Go on, my friend.
Hey, thanks so much. And shout out to my fellow JMT member and team member, Brian. Got to tell you, that law of reciprocity, or I started this year and it was like my business was just growing. And I kept saying, I feel like I'm in a harvest that I didn't plant. That season when it's like everything comes together, but you can't see the dots. It took until almost 6 months later before somebody said, hey, by the way, I mentioned your name to so and so. And it was like, that's where all that came from. Somebody that I had served years and years, like 6 years back, had mentioned my name to somebody that ended up creating this waterfall of business. And so what I say is, think the long game. This morning I talked to my team about let's stop building transactional relationships and start creating transformational relationships, ones that we seek to be transformed by, and eventually they might turn into transactions, but who cares if they don't? So I'll leave it with that and move on.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, my friend. I know my friend Ahmad's voice. So, and first of all, Eric, thank you, man. Spot on. Love it. From transactional to transformational. So powerful, man. That's one of those things. Tom, he should clip that because really great analysis. And so Ahmad, my friend, he's graduating from college soon. I think he's college. He's across the globe from me. Ahmad,
Yeah.
question, tip, what do you got?
All right. Thanks, Don, for giving me this chance to speak here. I know that the room is very packed today, but anyway, I will give my thoughts. Like, I've been listening to all what you've been saying, guys. Like, from conducting an interview to social media and how to use it to promote business and the content that we make. So I will touch down on the first aspect of conducting an interview. Like if you want the interview to be more organic, I think that depends on the type of the interview and the person that you are interviewing. And you certainly will have some, let's say, some questions and main points written on a piece of paper to ask the interviewee. But if you want the natural questions, or let's say these questions that comes right on the top of your head, like you have to, let's say, will come during the conversation, like during the questions that you're asking, or during the talk that you're talking. So be confident and don't be more confrontational. Like just let the conversation flow naturally, and give the other person the opportunity to give his opinion on his thoughts. Like I think I watched this interview on Channel 24. I think it is a British channel, and Jordan Peterson. I think everybody know him. And the person who was conducting the interview was very confrontational, and but like like the interview like was like a battle, and they are in a kind of or conflict. So don't let it be this way. Just be kind, be more relatable, more be more, if like you can be more relatable to the person, to the other person, so the interview can flow naturally and in a very good way. And in terms of the social media and how to use that, and how to use it to promote our business and our our content, I think that, as you know, that nowadays social media has become a very huge platform for a lot of content creators to throw their talents and to show their talents, and also to benefit others. and and the audience who are consuming, one more audience, you have to make your content more relatable. Like I have this friend who, he is also content creator. He made a video like less than a minute or a half-minute video. He posted both on Instagram and he posted on TikTok. Like he got on Instagram, let's say 5,000 views, but on TikTok he got like 4,000. Like, can you imagine that? 4,000. So what does that tell me? Tell me that, or what does that tell us? It tells us that choose the right platform and make your content more relatable, so you can get more audience, and the audience will react to to the the content that you are making, and the will become more, and the will you will increase your value, your content value.
Ahmad, definitely hearing you on this, man. We were talking about earlier that some messages, and I'm a big believer in this, some messages are best received in other platforms. So some messages are best in a book. I'm a publisher. I would love the written word. Some messages are best in a 10-second video. A baby hugging another baby with a raccoon in the background is best on TikTok, so all these different platforms, mastering them and understanding. So I'm thankful you're here, man. We appreciate you. We're going to hit up Angela. Angela graced us with her presence. We appreciate you, and you hang out with us for a while. So Angela, thank you. Angela, if you want to drop a tip or ask a question, we'd love it. And then Tom's going to take us out with a wrap up. I've talked too much. Angela, go on.
Thank you, Dominic. Thanks for inviting me. And yeah, it's great to be here. I've loved the conversation that I've heard since I arrived. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I was, the whole time I was just like soaking it all in and really listening to what everybody was saying. All the while, I'm actually, it's funny that you're a publisher, Dominic, but I'm actually, putting together a book. And while I was listening, I was like just taking everything that I had on my board. I have these like huge foam core boards, and I had all my Post-it notes with my outline, and I was just transferring it onto my laptop as I was listening. And yeah, I mean, just in terms of like Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, social media, I'm going to be launching this book, and I'm also launching a new brand. I'm a founder. I've always been in the fashion industry my whole career, and but before all of this, I've been studying all of this space. I've been studying all the content outlets, all social media outlets, from YouTube to TikTok to everything, to Clubhouse to, Twitter Space, wherever there's like an outlet, I've been there, and now Clubhouse, right? And so I've just been thinking a lot about my go to market strategy and, a lot of this pre-planning phase. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And what I do, I spend time on Clubhouse. A lot of my time I spend here is really helping other people with their businesses and also with their ideas. Like the sweet spot for me is ideation. Like when people have like this new idea that they want to bring to market and they need to refine it and they need to, do all the things that are in my book before they bring it to market. So I think, so that's really, I love helping people in that way. And I love collaborating with others. And yeah, I'm excited that I'm able to land on this, that I'm able to take everything, this whole like time of COVID, I've been like doing a deep dive and just learning a lot and educating myself into like, how to launch a brand in 2022 versus how to launch a brand in 1997 when I launched my fashion brand, Alice and Trixie, which I had for 23 years. So, obviously many things have changed along the way. So it's an exciting time. And I love being here. I love being able to hear the conversation and get everyone's perspective. That's really exciting to me to have this forum. Like Clubhouse I love Clubhouse. I've been on since early December 2020, and I just love this place, and I love being able to just like dip into a conversation like this. So Dominick, thank you so much for the room. I appreciate everybody here. And this is Angela. I'm done speaking.
Angela, thank you, and thanks for the kind words. Love this idea of ideation and then this evolution that Angela speaks about from 1997 to today. Things are different, and something that I did, let's say 6 months ago, a year ago, you guys teach me today that that's a bad idea, or this. So this room, that's what this is about. Sharing. We're not afraid to share. We're learning from everybody in here. As I said, Tom, I've talked enough. I got no more left, man. So I'm appreciative of everybody, but you drive us home, man. I got nothing. Take a nap and watch you.
Sounds good, Dom. Sounds good, Dom. Definitely appreciate you coming back and driving the bus this week. We missed you last week. Missed your skilled steering as we moved through the stage last week. So appreciate you being here as always. But definitely glad to have you back. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today, and just to sort of close it out, is something that Jess actually asked in the chat earlier, and she was asking for help with like TikToks and Reels and stuff like that. When it comes to like winning the algorithm battle and all of that kind of stuff, I'm definitely not the right guy to talk to. But when it comes to how to create content in different formats, I can help there. So that's what I want to do. So Jess, if you're still watching the live stream, you'll be able to see what I'm holding up in front of me. This is the rig that I use to film my reels and to film all of my live, or all of my TikTok content, my sort of vertical oriented content. So it's just a GoPro with an external microphone. That's all it is. It's a GoPro with an external microphone that's on like a handle, so I can easily just sort of grab it and go out and do my thing, right? So I hold it up in front of myself, I point it at me, and I just start talking, right? That's how I do all of those, all the reels on Instagram, and how I do all the TikTok reels and all the vertical video that I do. So if it's not up on LinkedIn yet, Jess, you just got to watch till the end. It's at 2 hours and about 7 minutes and change is where you'll see the camera actually pop up. But I wanted to show that to you because it's not super complicated. It's not a massive thing. It's literally a GoPro with a microphone. I oriented the GoPro so the GoPro is vertical instead of horizontal, right? And so the framing fits directly into the reel window or TikTok window, right? And then the beauty of GoPro is, because of their app, I can then take that video that I've filmed using like, a relatively good camera and a better camera than is in my phone, and I can transfer that directly to my phone. And then the way I do the daily vlogs, I created a system, right? Because I want to make it easy and simple to create. So I have a template. So every day the caption is the same. I use the same hashtags on all the posts, right? So I just changed the date and changed the sort of like second part of the sentence of the caption for each post. And then I upload the video into Instagram. I create the subtitles and the sort of label that's on every post. And then Instagram has an option after you've done the sort of creating the subtitles and things like that. You can actually download the video before you go to post it, right? So that's what I do. I download the video, and then it's downloaded with the subtitles in it, and then I can just take that same video and boom, throw it up on different platforms. And now it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook Reels, it's on Instagram Reels, it's on TikTok, it's on LinkedIn, and it's all like in a matter of a couple of minutes, right? So I just figured out how to streamline the process, and then that's what I did, right? And so you don't have to spend a ton of money, like I was talking about before. You don't have to go out and hire somebody else to film you to do reels. You can do it yourself. It's really straightforward. There's tons of little rigs you can use. You can get a GoPro relatively cheap secondhand on eBay, get an external microphone for it, and you're off to the races, right? And if you don't even want to, and the nice thing about GoPros is when you're walking around with them, the newer GoPros, Hero 8 and up, all have stabilization built into them. So it's really nice and stable. It looks like you're filming on a gimbal. It's not shaky and getting bounced around. So it's just, it's an easy way to do it that doesn't require a ton of investment, and you can do it yourself. So I just wanted to share that as something as people are looking for ways to create content. And then don't be afraid to practice. Like yesterday, I kept getting tongue-tied as I was trying to do my vlog. I did like 6 takes, right? And I've been in front of cameras for years. I have coached hundreds and hundreds of people how to present on camera, right? In my role as a director and a producer for television. And I still took like 5 or 6 takes yesterday to do a 60-second vlog, right? Sometimes it takes a few more practices. So just make sure you do that. Practice makes improvement, right? Practice makes improvement. Don't be afraid to do it over and over and over again. Worst case scenario, you run out of space on the memory card in the GoPro. What happens? You erase some clips and you record new ones. No big deal, right? So just keep practicing, keep improving, keep pushing content out there. And I promise you'll see results from it. So that's all I got for this week. Thank you, everybody who stuck around till the bitter end. I know we went long, but we appreciate you. I appreciate you, Dom, for being my co-host and inviting me into this space. Actually, for the record, Dom is the one that Dom was here way before I was. He and another former co-host, Neil, actually created the space and then invited me to be a part of it. So I appreciate you guys bringing me into this and giving me the opportunity to be a part of this community. And I'm super proud of the community that we've built over the last few months. And I can't wait to see where this goes in the future. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And now we'll give you a countdown. We're going to close it out in 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.